Are there some red flags that when you see or hear, you're like, hold on, let's let's back up the truck a little bit? Or
Oh my God, all of them. I mean, I just named a bunch of the red flags. Yeah, I mean, God, there's so many. That's really kind of sad because I'm thinking about, and I work with a few other industries. Obviously, restaurants is my passion from owning them before I did this. But I'd say there are more red flags in this industry than any other. Like one of the first ones is definitely if they're creating a concept that they like and maybe like their best friend and like, their cousin likes, but it's not going to be widely accepted. I don't know, like hot
mm,
dogs and sushi or some like weird combination. You really have to understand, the community that you're in, what they go after. So I think that one of the biggest red flags that I see is when people want to open a restaurant and God forbid somebody gave them money to do so, they think they're going to open up something that nobody's ever seen before in their community, something like completely outlandish. And and because of that, people are going to come. But that's not necessarily the case. Like you have to pay attention to the community, to the location, you have to pay attention to so many different things in order to build that clientele to get people to come in there, not just once, but again and again and again. And it's not because you love hot dog and sushi or whatever it is. It needs to be it needs to be widely accepted because you do need to put butts in seats a lot. And that's not necessarily easy to do. And so I think that's one big red flag. Is making sure the concept is right for where you're putting it. And why I say that is because where I come from in the restaurant world, I work with a lot of chef driven restaurants, not as many anymore. And that's actually I'm just realizing that now. That's kind of interesting. I have a few, but not as many chef driven. But years ago, it was all chef driven. And they have, egos, for lack of a better word. I don't even mean that in a mean way. Like they just have an ego. They're very, very talented. And it's their way or the highway, regardless if people like it or not. And that's not going to work. This is a business. It needs to make money. So there's that. And the other things are like occupancy, like that can kill you in a restaurant. So you got to be really careful about the lease deal that you sign because you're married to that landlord into that fee. It's rarely can be renegotiated. So things like that are, all the red flags, your food cost, what it's going to take you to run the place. Geez, I could just keep going on. It's kind of
sure, sure.
sad.
No, and just kind of clicking in on a couple of those, the concept thing is interesting because there is an argument to be made. There are underserved markets out there. I think Chipotle is a great example. When they came onto the scene, there really wasn't anyone doing upscale kind of like Mexican fusion ish, healthy ish sort of food. And they found a niche and they exploded, but they weren't hot dogs and sushi. So it's like an interesting tension between, you know, if we all don't innovate, then nothing new ever comes along. But maybe there's a reason this thing doesn't exist. And like you always have to dance that line.
Yeah, and the Chipotle example is a good one because it is pretty approachable. Even if you were the world's pickiest eater, it's just it dialed it up like a little bit. It's approachable. You could still go there, and if you have like a kid that like barely only wants to eat French fries, like you could probably get them to eat white rice or a cheese quesadilla. Like it's just a little bit extra, right? It's
Chips and
not
cheese,
it's not
sure, yeah.
crazy extra. And
Yeah.
that would be the way you should go in terms of having a viable restaurant business model is fine. You want to do something a little different. It's still got to be approachable to the masses in some way.
Yeah. And I mean, just because we've been picking on Chipotle, we can keep going down that line. I've got to assume that, you know, either they own the buildings or they lease them. So there's got to be a low break even point, which is something you were talking about. None of the items are like steak and lobster. It's all like
Yeah,
chicken and like the slow cooked.
ground beef,
Yeah,
and yeah, I bet
yeah,
the most expensive thing is the guacamole, and that's why they
probably.
charge $375 as an upgrade. Smart.